What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are breaking down a film that will make you question something very simple. Are you a good person? Not in a big dramatic way, not in a would you jump in front of a bus to save a stranger kind of way, just simply. If you had more than enough, would you leave some for the person below you? Because this is exactly the what the film is all about. The film is The Platform, a 2019 Spanish sci-fi horror film originally titled El Hoyo, which in Spanish literally means the hole. It dropped on Netflix in 2020, and within weeks the entire world was talking about it, debating it, arguing about it, and honestly still is. It holds a 93% audience score and was called one of the most thought-provoking films of the decade. Critics compared to George Orwell, to Kafka, to some of the greatest dystopian fiction ever written, and it was made on a budget so small it would make Hollywood embarrassed. And this is one of those films that proves you do not need money to make something unforgettable. You just need an idea so sharp it cuts right through you. And this idea actually cuts deep. So let's get into it. The film opens on a man named Goreng. He wakes up in a small concrete cell, grey walls, a rectangular hole in the floor, a rectangular hole in the ceiling, and lying on a bed across from him, an older man named Trimagasi, who looks at Goreng with the calm, unsurprised eyes of someone who had been there a while. Goreng looks around, confused, disoriented, and Trimagasi actually begins to explain where they are. They are inside something called the pit, a vertical tower, hundreds of floors deep, nobody knows exactly how many. Each floor is a concrete cell with two beds, two prisoners, and that rectangular hole is the center of the floor and ceiling. Once a day, a platform descends from the very top, and on that platform is food. Gorgeous, abundant, carefully prepared food. Enough, and this is important, enough to feed every single person in the entire tower if everyone just took what they need and left the rest. But here is the problem. The platform starts at the top. Floor 1 eats first, then it descends to floor 2, then floor 3, then 4, then further and further down. And by the time it reaches the floors lower, there is nothing left. Not crumbs, not scraps, nothing. And every single month, the prisoners are randomly reassigned to a new floor. You could wake up tomorrow on floor 1, surrounded by abundance, eating whatever you want. Or you could wake up on floor 150 and slowly starve. No rules, no guarantee, pure chance. Now, Goreng, and this is what makes him interesting, is not a criminal. He volunteered to come here. He chose this place in exchange for a certified diploma and a chance to quit smoking. He signed up for 1 year inside the pit. He thought he understood what he was getting into. He had absolutely no idea, because understanding the pit on paper and living inside it are two completely different things. And what Goreng is about to discover over the next few weeks and months about this place, about the people in it, about himself, is going to change how in ways he never saw coming. So, the first thing that Goreng learns about the pit is that the floor you are on defines everything. Not just how much you eat, everything. Your mood, your mental state, your relationship with the person sharing your cell, your entire sense of humanity. On the higher floors, people are relatively okay. They eat well, they sleep well, they can almost pretend this is manageable. But the lower you go, the darker everything gets, and Goreng gets the first real taste of this almost immediately. He and Trimagasi start on level 48. Not great, not terrible. The platform arrives with some food left on it, enough to survive, enough to get by. But Trimagasi, who had been here longer, watches Goreng with this quite knowing expression, like he is waiting for something, like he already knows exactly how this story goes. and he starts talking. He tells Goreng about the people on the floors above them, how they gorge themselves, how they take far more than they need, how they could easily leave enough for everyone below them if they just showed the smallest amount of restraint. But they don't, they never do. Because when you are sitting in front of abundant food and you are hungry, restraint is the hardest thing in the world. And then the monthly reassignment happens. Goreng wakes up on a new floor, much lower, and suddenly everything Trimagasi was describing, everything that felt abstract and distant, becomes horrifyingly real. The platform arrives, and there is almost nothing left on it. Just the remains of what 200 people above them already destroyed, barely enough to call a meal. And Goreng sits there staring at it, realizing for the first time that this system is not broken, it is working exactly as designed. Now here is where the film gets truly dark, because surviving on the lower floors is not just about hunger. It is about what hunger does to people. And the pit over weeks and months shows Goreng every single stage of human desperation. People who started as reasonable, calm, normal human beings slowly becoming something else entirely, something frightening, something that does things you do not want to think about doing. Things I will not describe in full detail, but trust me when I say the platform earns its horror rating here completely. And through all of this, Goreng keeps asking the same question: why doesn't anyone just organize? Why don't the people on the higher floors voluntarily leave food for the people below? If everyone just took what they needed, there would be enough, mathematically. Probably enough for every single person in this tower. Trimagasi looks at him like he is a child, because here is the truth. The pit teaches you very quickly. People do not think about the floors below them. When you are comfortable, you do not think about the uncomfortable. When you are full, you do not think about the smart. When you are full, you do not think about the hungry. Not because people are evil, but because comfort is the most powerful blinder in the world. You only truly understand the bottom when you live there. And then Goreng meets someone who changes everything, a woman named Miharu. She rides the platform every single month, all the way from the top to the very bottom, fighting anyone who gets in her way. Savage, fearless, completely alone. Nobody knows exactly why she does it. The rumors are dark. The truth, when it eventually becomes clear, is one of the most heartbreaking moments in the entire film. But what Miharu represents is the only person in this entire tower who actually moves against the system instead of just accepting it, and watching her plants a seed in Goreng's mind. Because by this point, Goreng has seen enough. He has been on the higher floors, he has been on the lower floors. He has felt abundance and he has felt starvation. He has watched people at their best and he has watched people at their absolute worst. And he reaches a breaking point. Not a loud, dramatic, explosive breaking point, a quiet one, the kind that is far more dangerous. He looks at Trimagasi one day and says something that shifts the entire direction of the film. There has to be a way to change this. Trimagasi says nothing because he has been here long enough to know that the people who say that are usually the one who suffers the most trying to prove it. So Goreng makes a decision, and it is the kind of decision that only someone who has truly lived at both ends of the system could make. Someone who has eaten well and someone who has starved. Someone who has seen the best and people at the worst. He decides he is going to change the pit. Not escape it, not just survive it, actually change it from the inside. And the way he plans to do it is so simple, it is almost beautiful. He finds an alley, a man named Bharat. Bharat has been trying to climb to the upper floors by rope, physically pulling himself up level by level, trying to reach the top through sheer determination and willpower. The people above him keep cutting the rope every single time, and there is something so devastating about that image. a man climbing about everything he has, and the people above him not even threatened by him, not even inconvenienced, just casually cutting the rope because they can. Because why let someone rise when keeping them down costs you nothing? Goreng finds Bharat and makes him a proposal. Ride the platform down together, all the way from their current floor to the very bottom, and as they descend, enforce rationing. Make sure every floor only takes what they need and leaves the rest of the floors below. Not ask, not request, but not also hope, but enforce by any means necessary. Now I want to think you about what this plan actually means, because on paper it sounds almost noble, almost heroic. Two men trying to bring fairness into a broken system. But in practice, it means going floor by floor through hundreds of levels of desperate, starving, sometimes completely unhinged human beings, and letting them to eat less, and telling them to eat eventually much lesser, and meaning it. The violence that follows is not pretty. The film does not romanticize it. People fight back. Of course they do. When you are starving and someone is standing between you and food, you fight. And Goreng and Bharat fight back harder. But there is what makes this journey so extraordinary to watch. As they descend, floor by floor, something starts to happen that neither of them expected. Some people listen, not many, but some. A few floors here and there where the people look at the food remaining on the platform more than they have seen in weeks. And instead of grabbing everything, they take what they need and leave the rest. And those small moments in a film that this dark, this brutal, this suffocating hit like sunlight through concrete, because it proves what Goreng always believed. The system is not human nature. Human nature is not the problem. The system is the problem. And if you change the conditions, you can change the behavior. But the platform keeps descending, and the lower they go, the worse everything gets. Floors where people have completely lost themselves, floors where the things happening in those concrete cells are beyond anything you want to imagine, floors where the concept of rationing, of saving food for others, is so foreign it might as well as be spoken in another language. And Goreng starts to feel it, the weight of it, the hopelessness of it, the sheer impossibility of what he is trying to do. Bharat feels it too. And then they reach a floor that stops them completely. A child, a little girl alone on one of the lowest floors, surviving somehow against every odd. Now this should be impossible. The rules of the pit state clearly: no children. Only adults volunteer or are sent here. There should be no child in this tower, and yet there she is, and suddenly everything clicks into place. Miharu, the woman who rode the platform every single month, fighting everything in her path, savage and fearless and completely unknown, she was not riding down for no reason. She was looking for her daughter. Every single month, all the way to the bottom, searching every floor. And the tragedy, the absolutely breaking tragedy, is that she never found her, because her daughter was surviving in a place even Miharu could not reach in time. Goreng looks at this child and makes a final decision. The original plan was to send a message to the people who run this place, to leave one perfectly untouched dish on the platform when it returned to the top. Proof that the people inside had organized, had shown restraint, and demonstrated that the system could work differently. A symbol, a message, a hope. But looking at this child, Goreng changes his mind. She is the message. Not a plate of food, not a symbol, a living, breathing human being who survived the unsurvivable, who represents everything this system tried to destroy and failed to destroy. If she reaches the top, this is the message, this is the proof. So Goreng puts her on the platform, and as it begins to ascend back towards the top, he stays behind. Let that sink in for a moment. He does not go with her. He does not save himself. After everything he survived, everything he endured, every floor he fought through, he lets the platform to go without him, and he stands there in the darkness of one of the lowest floors alone. The platform rises, floor by floor, back up through everything we just witnessed. back up through the darkness and desperation and the hunger and the violence, and the child rises with it. And then this film does something extraordinary. It does not show you what happens when the platform reaches the top. It does not show you the reaction of the administrators. It does not show you whether the message works, whether anything changes. It just ends with the platform rising and the child on it. And I know what you are thinking. That is it? After everything, this is the ending. But sit with it for a moment, because the more you think about it, the more devastating and perfect it becomes. Because the platform is not a film about solution. It is not a film that promises you revolution works, or that one act of sacrifice change everything, or that good people always win in the end. It is about a film about what happens when systems are designed to divide people, when resources exist in abundance but are distributed with cruelty, when comfort makes people blind to suffering that is happening just one floor below them, and the ending refuses to lie to you. It does not give you the satisfying resolution. It does not wrap everything up neatly. It gives you a child rising through darkness towards a light she has never seen, and asks you, is that enough? Is hope enough? Is one act of genuine selflessness in a broken system worth anything at all? And you leave the film carrying that question with you, not for an hour, not for a day, for weeks. Because the platform understands something that the greatest stories always understand. The question is more powerful than the answer. What matters is what you have done, what you have taken more than you needed on the higher floors. Would you have fought for the people below you? Or would you have told yourself this is just how the system works and eaten your fill? The Platform, a Spanish horror sci-fi film made for almost nothing, set almost entirely in a concrete box, with a story so sharp and so human and so brutally honest. This it has stayed with audience around the world for years, and it will stay with you too. Long after the credits roll, long after you turn off the screen, long after you forget the character names and the specific scenes, you will remember the question it asked you, and you will be entirely comfortable with your answer. Never. Don't even think. You will never be entirely comfortable. Alright, guys, this is for today. If this breakdown hit you even a little bit, smash that like button. It means everything to this channel. Subscribe if you are new, because every single week we are diving into the most powerful films from around the world and breaking them down exactly like this. Drop in the comments, have you seen The Platform? What floor do you think you would be on? I genuinely want to know that. And tell me what film I should cover next. I read every single comment, and your suggestions drive the channel. I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves.